views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
This show's audio was via a Skype call.
Get fired up for Spirit Fire Radio with your hosts, Dorothy Riddle and Steve Kramer. Get ready to shine the light on universal spiritual principles and uncover ways that ageless wisdom can guide you in cultivating consciousness in these modern times. Bring purpose to your life through practical spirituality and add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio. Now, here are your hosts, Dorothy Riddle and Steve Kramer.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Spirit Fire Radio. My name is Steve Kramer, and I am joined by my delightful co-host, Dr. Dorothy Riddle. Hi, Dorothy.
Hi, Steve. Glad to be with you.
Great to be with you, and great to be starting a brand new month. We are in the month of April, and as you listeners may know, each month brings on a new theme. So always fun to be starting a new topic, Dorothy. And guess what? Everything is energy. That's kind of the new theme. That's sort of been the theme from the beginning, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Everything is energy. One huge cosmic energy field.
But we're going to specifically talk about the energies of the mind. In a sense, we're going to continue talking about the energies of the mind because a couple of months back, we talked about the energy of the will, which is quite a big deal. And so we spent an entire month talking about the energy of the will, but that would really be under this same umbrella of energies of the mind. And perhaps, Dorothy, would you mind a few words on the will, and I'll throw in a few here and there, just to maybe get people up to speed before we move on to a new quality.
Sure. Well, when we think of the world from the perspective of energy, which we don't always, because we tend to think of ourselves as physical entities, that we can touch, and move around in that way. But when we recognize that we actually are all waveforms and we are all energy, then it becomes particularly important to recognize that energy doesn't just sit there. It flows in different directions, and it is the flow of that energy is fundamentally directed by the will, what we call the will. Or another way of thinking about it is that will energy is the primary energy in the world. It is that enabled energy is what creates everything. And so we went into it in from a number of different perspectives, Steve, but that to me would be my main takeaway that relates to the discussions we're going to have today. And the intentionality with which we direct that energy, that the use of the will energy, how we work with it, how we push back against us, remembering that basic idea that energy follows thought. So whatever we're thinking, that is how we direct or work with will energy.
Beautifully said, Dorothy. Beautifully said. I would only add to that, just to add to that, that the will is that the will is a force. We think of willpower. It's a very powerful force, really why we spent an entire month talking about it. But that we're tapping into these energies. It's not just that we've got our own will, which we do. We have got a sense of when we use our will, when we apply our force. And as Dorothy was saying, we can initiate something through an intention, and that intention often starts with a thought, and then or perhaps a plan, which is a group of thoughts together that will put that intention into motion. And so when we talk about these energies that are all around us that actually help create us and create the world around us, and we play a part in that, it's an energy that is omnipresent that we tap into. So we utilize this force that is a universal energy called will. And so it's not that we own it, but we actually utilize it. We tap into it. And so this whole month of April, we're going to talk about energies of the mind. And as Dorothy said, energy follows thought. That would be I would say everything is energy. There you go. Step one. Step two, energy follows thought. So the thought, our mental capacity for invention, for reasoning, for deduction, for even the creative aspects of the mind. We're going to talk about that all month, but all mental qualities. The last month, we talked about qualities of the heart, in a sense, relational energies, the way things relate, and a bit into our feeling nature, our own intuitive nature and sensing connections. So onward, we're gonna perhaps start off with a couple quotes, maybe, Dorothy?
Yes, but just before we do that, Steve, I just want to underscore for our listeners this that the energies that we're going to be talking about, they already exist, and our choice is: do we work with them, or do we fight against them, or do we just ignore them? So those are the choices that we have. We don't choose to eliminate them from the universe, or that kind of thing.
Yes.
Anyway,
of the universe, right? I mean, they are really very.
They are the universe.
They are the universe. So I love what you said, or we just ignore them, which is what a lot of people choose to do. It's interesting. So, this whole month, I think, for listeners, we'll really sort of tease out the ways in which you can use the mind and its capacity and its flexibility and its beauty and its diverse, the diverse ways we can approach it. So beautiful.
Right. So this week we're going to be focused on the energy that's known as active intelligence. And I have two quotes from Albert Einstein that I thought were particularly relevant. The first is, "Not everything that can be counted counts, and not everything that counts can be counted." So it's a little bit of an alert about, how attached we might get to mental processes. And then the second, "The important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing."
Yes. Well, Dorothy, I would say that I love the first quote because it's a bit abstract, which is quite related to this idea of active intelligence. Because as you were reading the quote, my mind was having to sort of bounce all over the place to figure out how could something that counts not be counted, and I would say I was right there with my intelligence being quite active, trying to figure out what those words meant, and a beautiful aha when I got to it. Right, discovery, and curiosity. Very good.
Good. So we talk about the universe being all energy, Steve, and there's an implication of that which sometimes people don't think about, which is everything, or everything. The language gets challenging here, but everything that we think of in the universe has its own energetic component, and that brings with it an inherent intelligence. So that includes the earth. It includes plants, animals. It's not just humans that have that type of energy.
And I would even say it applies to the table that is in front of me right now, to all matter. It's incredibly complex. All of the cooperative components that allow this table to not only be in front of me, but it was a thought at some point. It was an intention to create this table. And so there is an intelligence within it, but there is a working and active intelligence that is at once holding it together, that is making it purposeful, that is allowing my relationship to it. So it's quite a beautiful way to create a bit of respect and reverence, for something as simple as a table. You think, wow, there's actually a lot going on here.
Well, also, you started this off with the reminder of the will energy. And last month, when we were talking about heart energies, we started off with love wisdom. And this month, as we start, this active intelligence energy is really a blending of those two, right? It's a synthesizing of the will and the love wisdom component of energy.
Beautiful, and that relationship is quite dynamic. I like to think of it as the Jackson 5 song ABC. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. It's that idea of third time's the charm. Even that as we get to the number 3, if we think of these in order as will being 1, love wisdom being 2, and active intelligence being 3, we've really got this 1, 2, 3 that allows for manifestation, and not only manifestation, but momentum within the manifestation, because something is here. We're working with it. Its intelligence is actually manifest, playing out. It is actually a part of the game now, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so what we have in this energy is this very active mental processes, and an enormous ability to concentrate and to consider a wide range of options.
And I love, because there's the intelligence part, right, Dorothy, and the considering a wide range of options. It's actually looking for connections, looking at ways things relate, trying multiple options. It's actually this energy of putting something into play. And so we start to see the inherent intelligence on display, because it is actually it's doing its own thing. It is here. It is as we say, it's on stage. So we begin to see the intelligence that is inherent as it what's the word I want? As it expresses, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of nature. Yeah. Yeah,
and just to kind of bring it down to an everyday level, it's this energy is what facilitates communication.
Yes.
It's what makes it possible for us to share our thoughts and our feelings with others, to put them into words.
Yes, and I think of this energy also as the energy of networking. Within the Ageless Wisdom, we've mentioned this before, that these energies actually have numbers. They're called rays, and this would be the third ray, the number 3, if we go in order. And the spider web, or the World Wide Web, is really a manifestation of this quality of energy, which is actually finding those connections and that information moving, this intelligence being quite active. I mean, if you just look at those words, active intelligence, and you think of the World Wide Web that is constantly generating thought and bringing thought to the surface, and bringing new thought forms into contact with other thought forms. And so there's just this beautiful blending and creativity and movement happening, like a spider web, that just has got so many connections that it creates almost its own shape as a result of those connections.
Well, and that, to build on that means that this is the energy that is extremely helpful in planning and strategizing, because it enables us to see connections that might not have been immediately obvious.
And we'll definitely go into that more. We've got to go to a break, but before that, I just want to also put in that if you think of humanity as an intelligent form, it also serves to illustrate or bring to the forefront the ways in which we can be of service to humanity, because we see the connections, our interconnections, our interconnectedness is revealed as a result of our activity, as a result of us being here together and seeing what takes place. What is the result of all of our interconnections? So this energy of active intelligence can be utilized, and we're going to talk about that next. How do we use this energy, and how can we misuse it? We really can use it as a way for not only seeing humanity very clearly and building and growing our connections, but being of service as a way of being that connection, that string that ties us all together. So, Dorothy, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, talk radio to thrive by. I am so thrilled to be talking to all of you. We have got talk radio for all of us. Are you ready and willing and able to accept all of the abundance you can muster up in your life? Yeah! Check us out at drpatshow.com, transformationtalkradio.com, transformationradio.fm. Oh my goodness.
Do you know how powerful your thoughts and beliefs are in determining your experience of your life? Is it really true that simply by changing some of the words you use in your day-to-day language, that you can change your life? I'm Megan Edge. Join me on Playing on the Edge, Radical Change with Ease, with my co-host Dr. Pat on Transformation Talk Radio. I look forward to seeing you there.
To find out more about Megan Edge, visit her website at meganedge.ca.
Are you ready to branch out? Take a leap of faith. Then tune in to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills on TransformationTalkRadio.com every second and fourth Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific to equip, empower, and enlighten yourself. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. So, get fearlessly ready and get powerfully rooted in your yes to live it up, love it up, and let it go to ignite the life you deserve. Visit GetRootedRadio.com and tune in.
Stuck in a roundabout of dysfunction? Learn how to speak your truth to power with host Dr. Kathy Obear. Create real change with smart tools and smart strategies. No frills, no fluff, just life-changing conversations to help get you where you want to be. Extend your reach and become an agent for real change with Kathy Obear. For more information on Kathy and her work, please visit drkathyobear.com. That's drkathyobear.com.
Did you know that when working with the law of attraction, it's beneficial to share your longings with a supportive tribe who can assist in maintaining accountability and hold the creative space for your desires to manifest? I'm Autumn Seibel, host of Golden Otter Radio, where the metaphysical meets the mainstream. Join me each month at the new and full moon to plant your seeds of abundance, consciously tend to your intentions throughout the lunar phases, then harvest the fruits of your co-creation with the universe in my Lunar Manifestations members-only forum. Your tribe is waiting for you at goldenotter.us.
Are you ready to broadcast your brand idea with the latest in information technology? Bioresonance software distills your brand ideal or intention and enhances your core internal organizing principle. This has a tremendous impact on your organization's alignment as well as the behavior, satisfaction, and the retention of its employees. Your physical business structure can unfurl, opening up the possibilities of creating an energetic presence for a brand even ahead of its launch. Check out JeanetteWolf.com for more on its signature frequency branding.
Welcome back, listeners. It's great to be with you. Dorothy and I would love to take a moment to tell you about our respective organizations. Spirit Fire Radio is a collaboration between the School for Esoteric Studies and Spirit Fire. Dorothy, a few words about the School for Esoteric Studies?
Thanks, Steve. Yes, the School for Esoteric Studies is an educational nonprofit whose primary mission is to help people who have that already have a spiritual practice to deepen that practice. And we do that through individual training with meditation, study, and service. And we also do that through a series of group initiatives. We have just launched the 2019 Subjective Group Conference, which is a conference that we do each year during the period of the what's known as the three linked festivals, the full moon of Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. This year, our focus is on From Suffering to Joy, the Science of Redemption. And if you're interested in joining us, please look at our website, esotericstudies.net, for more information. I also wanted to mention, Steve, because we're talking about mental energies, I wanted to mention that we have a specific initiative related to this called the Cleansing Initiative, because every thought that we have, that we put out there, it doesn't just disappear, in a poof. If it has any energy connected to it, it stays there, which means that we, over time, accumulate, you can think of them as thought clouds of negative energy from, all the times that we were angry or jealous or spiteful or hurtful or all of that kind of thing. So we have a specific initiative that we invite people to join us in that we call the Cleansing Initiative to clean out, so to speak, our mental energetic field, our shared mental energetic field. Again, you can find information about that at esotericstudies.net.
That sounds like beautiful, busy work. I can see the active intelligence working right through that. That's quite awesome. I am here on behalf of Spirit Fire. We are an educational nonprofit whose mission is to cultivate consciousness and educate people on the importance of spirituality in their everyday lives. We do that primarily through our meditation practice called the Practice of Living Awareness. It is equal parts a mindfulness practice and an insight or Vipassana practice. We offer free online meditation, 3, 4, 5 meditations a week delivered to your inbox if you so choose. We do that in rounds of meditations. We're halfway through the current one. But anytime you go to our meditation blog, you can look into our practice and download some free audio meditations, some guided meditations. We have a meditation center in Western Massachusetts and support that practice with our own meditations. Also lots of yoga retreats, sound healing retreats, really wonderful stuff going on in the foothills of the Green Mountains in New England. So check us out at spiritfire.com. All right, Dorothea, let's continue the conversation about active intelligence. One thing, Dorothea, that always helps me is when I think of these qualities of energy, and there are 7. And so we looked into love wisdom last month. We looked into harmony through conflict, and we looked into the energy of the heart that would be considered idealism or devotion. So those were 3 that are heart energies, and will we talked about as a mental energy, and there are 3 more. So we're going to talk about them this whole month. Active intelligence being the one that we're covering today. But Dorothy, whenever I think of all of these 7 qualities of energy that really are the universe, that manifest the universe, they sort of tincture every aspect of the universe. I like to think of people who have a great ease with them, people that might, I would say, tap into that energy. So we've talked about, you mentioned making connections and planning and strategizing being a way we would use this energy. And I think of people like an inventor who is always looking for ways to use certain parts to create something new, or sees a need, would like to make a certain task more efficient. And they've got to use their mind to look at what they've got to work with and how they can create something new to make that happen. Or an investor, somebody who understands the way that money works in a sort of abstract way and is working with very tangible things like money, but in an almost abstract, intangible way with markets that are coming and going. The whole world is quite foreign to me. But a concierge, I also think of a concierge who really understands, for instance, a city and the way that a city is laid out. And if somebody would like to participate in a certain activity or attend a certain event, they've got the connections and they know how to plan and strategize to get them that one last seat at the theater. Or I think of a think tank, which is ultimately very collaborative, where you've got a lot of minds creating momentum around an idea, and then there's a newness, there is something that is created out of that momentum that they've created. So that's always helpful for me to wrap my head around how we use these energies in our everyday lives.
Well, that's interesting, Steve, because I would come at it slightly differently. I think that to me, what we're talking about this week is that intelligence energy, but in the idea form. Whereas next week we're going to be talking about the concretization of those thoughts. So I would like to suggest that, for example, with the concierge, the Ray 3 energy suggests what all is going on. What's all of the details of everything that's possible in the city. But it's the Ray 5, which we're going to talk about next time, that actually is the getting the connections where you can get the tickets and you give the specific directions, that very concrete aspect. I'm not sure if you would agree with that, but that's the way I think of the distinction between the two.
Well, I think it's beautiful the way they work together. So What I love is that there is the intention. So we would see one, and then there is all of the activity that's happening all around and the capacity to sort of tap into that very busy, constantly moving. And from all of that, connect, that part would go here. And if I make this call to this person, and it's that sort of seeing what's out there and what all is possible as a result of all of that moving around. And then I think that leads to then the fifth ray, or concrete knowledge, which says, I know this person at this phone number who I can call to get this ticket for that. So it puts it all in place. So I think I definitely agree with you in that it's this sort of precursor to the actual plan, it's the precursor to the plan being set and everything being lined up in an organized form. It is that tapping into all that's possible to see what might where the connection might be between the person who's wanting the activity and what all is available. Yeah.
Well, to me, the difference gets to how this energy can be problematic or can be misused. Because to me, at the active intelligence level, what can happen is that you have so many ideas just bubbling around in your mind all the time, right? And your energy just gets scattered because you can't really follow up on any, and they're still at the idea stage, right? They're not at that very practical level. And so that too many balls in the air, but at an idea stage, to me, is what the active intelligence problems can be.
Yeah, and definitely too muchness. So spread oneself very thin, where you see something and your mind connects to it, and you say, "Oh, I can do that," and you find that you're just spinning plates, constantly moving from plate to plate to plate, trying to keep them all up and going and spinning. So definitely one thing to look out for is to be overly inspired.
Well, and also overly preoccupied with irrelevant details, right? So you can follow an idea and land up down 5 rabbit holes that aren't really related to where you were headed in the first place.
Yes, indeed. There's also an aspect that at least in esoteric circles is brought up quite a bit about this energy of active intelligence is this, that it's got the potential to manipulate, in that it can see, in that there are so many different options made available and one can sort of see them all with the mind, that the sleight of hand is possible. It's this idea of like a Ponzi scheme, for instance, has got that energy of active intelligence, but used in a way that may not be for benefit, that's used in a selfish way. So we have to look out for this propensity in using this energy to manipulate.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Yes, with ideas, manipulate with ideas.
Yes. And
which is different than emotionally manipulating. And so there's a certain seductiveness about it, because it seems like the other person might not be that vested because it's just ideas, but in fact, there is the manipulation in the background.
Definitely. I know just that idea of excessiveness, of excessive activity, even any time you've got that word active intelligence, I would say one thing to watch out for is just overactivity. It is noticing when we've got to slow down. I think of jazz. I think of jazz music as tapping into that. If all of a sudden somebody's put on a jazz station and it's really fast, almost jazz sometimes sounds erratic in a way where the mind, a jazz musician is really not following music. They're just off, really creating in the moment from all that's possible, just creating something new, because there really is not that structure so much so in jazz. And so that sound always, to me, illustrates that idea of active intelligence at work, of momentum in creating music. Dorothy, we are already at a break, so listeners, will continue this conversation when we return.
Did you know that all of the shows on the Transformation Radio Network are available as podcasts to stream or download?
Really?
Check us out. Go to transformationradio.fm. We have business shows, spiritual shows, energy healing shows, and pretty much everything in between. Something for everyone, guaranteed to inspire, educate, and transform. We are transforming the world, one listener at a time.
Dream on, fly high, and live adventurously on The Laura Meeks Show. Tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio as host Laura Meeks guides you in finding your unique gifts and bringing them to life. As a certified life coach, speaker, and veteran bomber pilot for the U.S. Air Force, Laura knows how to follow a dream. She is ready to support you so you can dream on, fly high, and live adventurously. For more information on Laura and her work, visit flyhighliving.com.
To find answers to life's questions, you need to look within yourself. Dr. Glenna Rice brings your questionable conversations on Transformation Talk Radio each month. Tune in each month for insight into how you can live up to your full potential. Dr. Glenna is a physical therapist, certified Access Consciousness, and Access Body Class facilitator. How does it get any better than this? For more information on Dr. Glenna Rice and her work, visit glennarice.com.
Living Lighter Radio with Jason and Patricia. We have an ecosystem approach to your life. Tune in weekly every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio as we, Jason and Patricia, discuss what's truly holding you back. We offer you the tools you need to reach your goals and at the same time be living lighter. For more information about Living Lighter, visit www.livinglighter.org.
Welcome back, listeners, to Spirit Fire Radio. We are talking today about the quality of active intelligence, this energy of the mind. Dorothy, I think we talked a bit about how one might misuse this energy. Perhaps how do we increase our effectiveness in active intelligence? Any ideas there?
Well, we were talking just before the break, Steve, about how you can kind of go off in all directions. You can be overly stimulated mentally. And so the first thing that I think of is increasing, focusing mindfully on mental disciplines of, analysis, of prioritization, of focus, of how it is that we're going to direct this mental energy. Because until we're clear about that, we can't really work in alignment with it. Until we're clear what we're trying to focus on, or where we're trying to move to.
So I sort of hear in that you're almost creating boundaries so that we can use this energy effectively without flying off the rails. So you're saying to create some discipline first, and that will make the use of this energy more effective. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes.
And
then I think going along with that, Steve, if I get a second a second choice as well, we've talked off and on about the concept of detachment, which is sometimes misunderstood as not caring, which is not really what it is at all. It's a matter of being willing to work towards an objective or a goal, but releasing what the end has to be. So in other words, we work with a group, we have a general sense of what we want to accomplish, but different people may have different images of how that's going to come about, and being open to that. So strengthening that sense of detachment because it allows us to see options more clearly.
So it allows that energy in. So those are two very different ways of going about increasing your effectiveness. I really love both. In that one is creating a structure so it can be used properly and we don't overdo it. And one is actually then allowing more of that in, because if we're too attached, we won't see the multitude of options, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Very well said. I like that.
So what are your choices? How can we increase our effectiveness?
Well, I mean, I think it's along the idea of detachment, and for me, it's just think big. Really keep going bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, the world out there is just magnificent. It's incredible what human beings have come to know about this planet we live in. I mean, from string theory to quarks and I mean, what we know about the intricacies of this world. And even, we think of if we look at the micro and protons and neutrons, electrons to molecules, and the way we could build up to this thing that is a human being, right? And then we've come to understand the Homo sapiens sapien. We're aware, and we are aware that we are aware. And the mind has learned not only about what's going on in our interior, but the planet we're on, and that it's a part of this solar system, and the solar system's a part of a galaxy. And I read they just the other day have found a new star with thousands of galaxies that are undiscovered. So it's amazing what the mind can do. There is so much knowledge available to us that if we just think big and expand the breadth of what what our intention is to allow in, the possibilities are endless. And I think that then the active intelligence, Dorothy, as you say, which is present, it is there, that every thought we've ever thought is a part of this rain cloud of knowable things. Well, there are people thinking really incredible abstract thoughts, and to allow our mind open to receive some of those thoughts and to work with them, from our own subjective perspective is quite amazing. So I just say, think big, open your mind, be really curious, look around, look at different options and different possibilities, and just let your mind get creative. I think then that energy really goes to work on its own.
Well, and particularly that whole concept of curiosity, of wonder, of wanting to explore, as opposed to wanting to put rigid
everything
structures around things.
Right.
And so that kind of part of it to me is you think big, yes, and we'll talk more about this next week. But there's also an aspect of thinking big in terms of practical implications. How could this be applied so that it's not just etheric?
Yeah. And there you go. I mean, we mentioned planning and strategizing. So you have to also realize that intention has been set. So there is, in a way, an ultimate plan. I think that also brings us back to this idea of goodwill, this idea of really reveling in and exploring our interconnectivity. If you really sit certainly and ponder a flower, it's as if the inherent intelligence is revealed to you, and you sense the ways in which we are all a part of this living, breathing organism that is Earth. So I think this idea of reveling in our interconnectivity, like sensing it and asking for, asking to see more, asking to know more, asking for more to be revealed, in a way is coming to understand the big plan, the big intention. And I think that's quite nice too. Not to go super big when you just brought us down to I realized I just did that as soon as you said, no, let's use it for actually creating something here and now. I think that wowness of all that's available to us really does help us and assist us in generating plans and realizing that there's so much available to us. We live in such an abundant world of abundant possibilities, abundant ideas, abundant potentials. And the third ray, or active intelligence, seems to always want to show us that.
Well, and it shows if we allow it, it will show us possibilities that we hadn't imagined. I'd like to just share a story of what happens when we cut that off, because this may underscore this. But when I was working on one of my books, I came across a story of a whale. I believe it was a beluga whale that was being held in California in a scientific research center. So it was alone by itself in this tank, and the people who were caring for it suddenly realized that it was talking to them, that it had figured out a way to modify what from whales is usually very, very high-pitched communication, to bring that down so that it could form human words. And they saw this as kind of a curiosity, an anomaly. It went on for, I think, a year, maybe a little bit more, and then the whale stopped. And so the scientist that was writing about this said that obviously this is just a phase that the whale matured out of. But to me, reading the description, I thought, if I was trying to talk to somebody for a year and they never talked back to me, I'd stop.
Yeah. And they had a look on their face like, wow, this is a strange phase.
Yeah. And so, being open to the possibility that this is a living being who's actually trying to communicate to you. It's not just a cute kind of act that's going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, that to me is part of what the active intelligence energy can open us up to, the possibility of something that we might not have imagined actually occurring.
Well, and it underscores one of the active part of it, that going with the flow is really a part of allowing this energy to move through. They didn't go with the flow. Like here was this need, and here was this relationship that was being created, and they did nothing with it. There was inertia.
Right.
And so a really important aspect of active intelligence is the active part, is to keep it moving, keep going with the flow. And to me, it's really reflected in the fact that, our universe is constantly expanding. There's actually more potential. And so you look at that as a beautiful opportunity, missed actually, by not going with the flow, well, by allowing that momentum to fade. So yeah, wonderful. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So Dorothy, we're going to actually have to go to a break already again, but I want to just mention we're going to talk when we come back about inclusive social action. It's something we have talked about for several months, and looked at ways in which these energies play a role in inclusive social action. So look forward to that as soon as we get back after these words. Hi, I'm Steve Kramer of Spirit Fire Radio, and I believe that meditation changes everything. It leads us in the direction of greater well-being, and that's a fact. I struggled with meditation for years. I understood the principles, but I found it hard to incorporate them into my everyday life. Spirit Fire's meditation practice changed that. It's called the Practice of Living Awareness, and it's taught in 14 steps. These are 14 tools that I can use in any moment, on and off the cushion. Steps like smile, flow, and ground of being support my clarity of mind while I'm navigating the ups and downs of modern life. That's why it's called the Practice of Living Awareness. If you'd like to add meditation to your daily experience, the Practice of Living Awareness is free, online, and it's suited for any level of practitioner. Visit spiritfire.com for more information. And be sure to check out Spirit Fire's meditation retreats in Western Massachusetts. It's all there at spiritfire.com.
Are you ready to shift your current beliefs about death, from debilitating pain and loss? Follow Angie Corbett-Kuiper as she shares that through choice, present moment awareness, and keeping an open mind that anything is possible, even in death. Tune in to Beyond Proof Radio with Angie, redefining death and loss, every first and third Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more, visit AngieCorbettKuiper.com.
You said forever, you said always. Now you know things have changed, and going back is not an option. It's sudden, devastating, and is like taking a leap of faith. Tune in to From Two to You, Thriving After Divorce Radio, as Sarah Luz, empowerment coach and spiritual mentor, reminds you to have faith in yourself. Tune in every second Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific and listen as Sarah encourages you to leave negative stories in the past and move forward. We all need a friend when I do becomes I can't. Let Sarah help as life takes you in a new direction. Leave the guilt and doubt in the past, step into the spotlight, and show the world who you are. To find out more about Sarah Luz, visit sarahluz.com.
Are you ready to embrace your essence and the magic of who you are? Let me, Emily Perkins, hold your hand and walk with you as we go treasure hunting for the gold that lies within you. Tune in to Love Living Radio every second and fourth Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. For more information, visit LoveLivingHolistics.com.
Welcome back, listeners, as Dorothy and I continue talking about this mental energy called active intelligence. Just before the break, I mentioned that we were going to talk about that energy and its role in inclusive social action. We spent an entire month talking about inclusive social action, and we are both dedicated to exploring this idea and generating ideas around it. So Dorothy, before we start, would you like to perhaps define those words, three really beautiful words together, inclusive social action, and what that means?
What it refers to, Steve and our listeners, is intentional action to stop specific violence in a manner that does not further divisiveness. You know, when we meet violence with anger, all we do is escalate. And so how is it that we take a stand and say this is not okay? Because that's important. That's part of our responsibility, is to not condone harm or violence that's occurring. And one of the ways that we can condone it is simply by silence. So we want to be active, but to do it in a compassionate manner that recognizes that we are all in this together. Even the people that we see as intentionally perpetrating harm, they are all part of the same shared energy field. And so how is it that we can take action to stop, to block, to say no? I think of this, Steve, as kind of tough love on the societal level.
Yeah. And, I mean, it is sometimes not enough just to wake up and say, today I will do no harm. In this very busy and very compact world that so many humans live together very closely upon, we sometimes witness or come across harm, even if it's not in relation to ourselves, but we are bearing witness to harmful actions. And there's a time to take action, and to say no, and to stand up and say, this is not okay, as you say, and to create an environment. So we're looking to actively create harmlessness in an environment that supports that. And so it seems like active intelligence would be a very efficient energy to work with, or to be familiar with and to utilize, right?
Well, absolutely, because it provides clarity on what is it that we need to tackle. What are the issues, and what are some creative ways of addressing them?
And I can see that energy actually could see the way that various types or expressions or harmful actions are connected globally or worldwide. If this were to be a movement, I can see how the third ray would be very good, or active intelligence would work very well at revealing the full extent of the impact of harm or injustice, connecting all of these various examples and seeing and showing actually the ways in which we all are affected by that, and its connection to our own way of life, that it's revealed that we can't just ignore it. It would see the ways it impacts the whole, right?
Right, and I think it's particularly important because right now we have so much intentional harm going on, right out in the open. The inhumane treatment of asylum seekers at the southern border of the United States is only one of the examples. And so we can get kind of numb to the whole thing, and we need to have that analytical power to say, these are who we need to hold accountable. These are the people that we need to push back against, or say, no, enough is enough. We will not allow this. We will not condone this.
When we also talked about that this energy can be used to manipulate, and you can see in that situation the ways in which words and ideas and ideals are being used in a way, improperly actually, and that actually in a very untruthful manner. There's like out and out lies about what's going on, in calling people in the southern border who are simply seeking asylum and talking about them as really invaders and trespassers, which they are not at all. So you can see how we need to use our intelligence actively to not allow this misinformation to represent the truth, which it's not. So to constantly be, looking for the truth and uncovering the truth and seeing the bigger picture and presenting that and networking with like-minded people so that we can, not allow situations like this to happen and using that energy to form, a voice that will counteract that.
Absolutely. And, that kind of work, the inclusive social action, takes energy. It takes persistence. You don't just, send one letter to the editor or make one call and it's all over with. You have to keep at it over and over and over and over again. And that sense of tirelessness, to me, I see as being one of the traits of active intelligence, the willingness to continue to examine, to continue to reflect, to continue to steer action in a way that can be beneficial.
Well, and also to continue to come up with options, right? To continue to come up with ways of looking at this situation so that we don't get locked into just one way of looking at it, especially if we're being fed, one particular ideology or one thought form that's actually an illusion, that's actually not the truth. So you've got to keep coming at this with facts and looking at it from different angles and presenting it in different ways. So people who have a different way of listening or hearing or assessing for themselves can see it from a lot of different angles so that you can get everybody involved and on the same page, right? Yeah, I think that's also a way of looking at it. There's also this energy of active intelligence we talked about, investors. There's also something about fundraising and creating, bringing in money, people that are raising money and people that, would like to help in humanitarian situations that they just need funds. That kind of energy can be tapped into as a way of strategizing and building up a bankroll, that's going to help inclusive social action. Also just something very important.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Well, Dorothy, we're actually just about at the end of the show. Next week, as you mentioned a couple times during this show, we're going to talk about concrete knowledge. So we're moving from the abstract to the concrete. This is really the energy of science and order. So it will be an interesting continuation, and I'm sure we'll build upon a lot of which we talked about today, as one seems to build or utilize the others in very interesting ways. So next week, we're going to talk about the mental energy of concrete knowledge. Dorothy, any last words before we bid our listeners adieu?
No, Steve, I'm really looking forward to our discussion next week, and it's compare and contrast it to our discussion this week. I think that'll be really interesting.
Wonderful. All right, Dorothy, thank you so much. And listeners, thank you for joining us on Spirit Fire Radio. You can find more about our show and our archives at spiritfireradio.com, or, of course, as always, through Transformation Talk Radio. On behalf of Dorothy and I, it's been great to be with you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Spirit Fire Radio. Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern for your weekly guide to purposeful living and practical spirituality. Join hosts Steve Kramer and Dorothy Riddle as they shine the light on universal spiritual principles and uncover ways that ageless wisdom can guide you in cultivating consciousness in your everyday life. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio. To learn more, visit spiritfireradio.com.